Oh, yeah, baby. This is it, man. This is it. This is the beginning right here. This is the start of something great. So, I've been doing stand up for the last only like 2 weeks, 3 weeks maybe. I don't know. I think I've done it, yeah, 2 or 3 weeks. And it's been pretty crazy to even be doing stand up to begin with. Now, am I any good at it? Not really, but that's not because I don't try. It's simply because I don't really have any true material yet. Right now I'm at the 1 minute range. And so like 1 minute of material that I've kind of written and it's okay. And then I have other kind of story stuff for like if I ever get like longer bits of material. But for the most part though, like everything is just really sort of how do you say like just um really quick, you know what I mean? And very competitive. It seems like a lot of people are just sort of um trying to get there too. They're scratching and clawing at this opportunity that we have, and a lot of people do get it though. It's kind of crazy. A lot of people actually legitimately get it. Like they'll get on Kill Tony, because where I'm at right now, it's in Houston, but where I do stand up and where everybody seemingly does stand up is all in Houston. I mean, Austin, excuse me. Austin, home of the scooters. I've got a small bit about Austin and Austin scooters and things like that too. I think everybody does. Everybody kind of hits on that whenever they get up on stage. It kind of seems like something that's really interesting. Very, very cool, though. I enjoy watching I enjoy watching people get up there and do their thing, and mostly, which is going to be like the premise of the show with Matt, the Only Bombs show. The premise of everything is definitely like we want to start the show with people who are just starting off, like and have guests like that, like because people are trying to get out there and people are trying to get their names in places and they want to be known and they want to do their thing too, and it's hard to get recognition at this level's so it's so sensitive, I guess, in a way. It's just how everything just sort of stays sort of monotonous for a while. Where I met someone who has been doing it for 5 years, and she's super, super funny. And she's killing it. She's killing it. But everybody seems to give me the same kind of advice, which is always stick with it. You have to stick with it. And I did this little thing earlier about how sticking with it is a lot like life. It's a lot like the thing that you do with life, and it's sort of interesting of the fact that like it's not guaranteed. It's just because you're sticking with it doesn't mean you're going to be any good at it. And I guess that generates a certain amount of fear, like in my head, the kind of fear of, well, am I any good at it? Will I be any good at it? I don't know. I guess we'll have to see. So until then, I guess maybe we'll have this whole podcast deal to kind of sit back on and kind of fall back on. Hopefully, we'll see. I don't know. And I'll be in these creaky chairs at work because I'm at work right now. And like where I work, it's kind of nice to be able to do this kind of thing, after all the work is done and we're kind of sitting around waiting on calls. And, just in between the next thing, you know what I mean? And so it is something that I feel like I want to, um, uh, do more of is this podcast thing, but stand up in general, you see, it seems to come like so naturally to me, because I love making people laugh. I'm also an entertainer. I love basically just kind of just getting up in front of people and really showing myself. I've been that way forever, ever since I was a kid. There was like kind of like this talent school that was sort of like Juilliard back in uh, back in New Orleans, and excuse me, it was back in New Orleans, and it was NOCA, the New Orleans Center for Creative Arts. And when I was younger, I went to NOCA, and I even I got the lead in a very small play, and then later on down the line, I ended up becoming an extra in both TVs and movies. I forgot the name of the company, but this is way back in the early 2000s, and I got that through like my I don't know what you call him. I guess he's my great cousin. He's my mom's uncle's son. So whatever that is my great cousin, I guess. Um, excuse me. And I got that through him. He was doing the show. It's called Kville, and it starred Cole Hauser, who plays Rip on Yellowstone, and Anthony Anderson. And it was really cool to be able. I met them before, and Anthony Anderson actually played this funny joke on me, like, you know how you're supposed to bust through the doors on that on those like medical shows. Well, ironically, I actually played an EMT as an extra, and the whole thing was that we were supposed to bust through the doors of like with the gurney. So we had a guy on the gurney, and Anthony Anderson was behind me, and the guy on the gurney was like his partner, and his partner gets beat up or something like that. And what we're supposed to do is push the gurney through the doors. And so, I mean, I've never operated a gurney in my freaking life, so I have no idea what I'm doing. And so I push the gurney, not getting anywhere. It's not going anywhere, you know. And then the director yells, "Cut!" Right? And he opens up the doors, you know, and I see the whole crew and everybody just staring at me. And I'm like, you know, like, I don't know. And the director's like, "What's going on here?" And I'm like, "I don't know." And then Anthony Anderson starts to laugh. And I look down and I see his hand, and it's like this, like wrapped around the gurney. Like he was holding it. He was stopping me from going. And I was like, "Dude, you can't be fired, but I can be fired," you know. But all in all, the crew had a good laugh. And then finally we got it. We busted through those doors, you know, it opened up, and then we were supposed to take like a turn. And I think the first take, we almost dropped the guy, like he went over, because, you know, like now I know that gurneys, you know, like, or stretchers, what we call them, like they're top heavy, you know, with patience. So you can't be like turning them like crazy, because if you do, they'll just fall over, you know. But back then I didn't know that. So he kind of like went on like two wheels a little bit, and then we had to pull him back down. And then, you know, we went through the door. And it was really cool. It was just interesting to be able to be a part of something like that, like the whole, you know, you're busting through the doors. Everybody's like, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" Scene. You know, I got to do that, and it was fantastic. You know what I mean? Notable people who went to NOCA as well was Sierra Payton, and she's on I think the show called The Oval on BET now. So she's moving up there as well. But I went to Lusher with her, so shout out to all my Lusher people there. But yeah, you know, like, so all my life people have been saying about how I'm, you know, like funny, and, you know, and I should do stand up, and people told me that I should do that, but I never actually took it into, you know, like high consideration of thinking that I should do that until now, until like basically, you know, my time opened up to be able to do it comfortably. And so now here I am, you know, trying my best to be funny, trying my best to just entertain the people like I like to do, you know. For those of you who excuse me, so those who don't know me, I also do music, and I've been playing music for, man, since I was like 12. So, you know, I'm 38 now, so whatever, like 20 something years, you know. And so I've been playing for a long time, and I've always wanted to be on the stage, and I've always wanted to be doing something, you know, like, you know, entertainment wise. You know, I've always loved to be, I guess, like the center of attention. I've always loved to have the excitement of being a part of a cast and being a part of a band and things like that. Just something that generates some kind of attention. That's what I really liked. But I've always been with things where I involved other people, minus my music, because I used to do open mics all the time, you know, playing guitar. I'll go play guitar at any open mic. You know, I love playing guitar like that. I love going out there and just doing it and just playing some good acoustic music, I guess. Like I play sort of like acoustic rock music, right? And I love doing that. And I thought that would be something very, very interesting to translate into stand-up, but then I was like, yeah, I don't think that's going to be a good idea. I don't want to be one of the, I guess, like the guitar stand-up guys, you know, like that's just not really my thing. However, I did find that when I did stand up, when I finally got to that point, that it was a lot of fun. It was a whole lot of fun, even though I didn't do very well. My first stand-up experience was absolutely crazy. It was nuts. so my first stand-up experience, like I met this Asian guy, and there's a relevance there. So I met this Asian guy, and we were both going to the Comedy Mothership in Austin to watch Joe Rogan and Friends. And so me and him, we did not go together, right? We didn't go together. We went separately, and we met inside of Mitzi's, the bar. That's right, at Comedy Mothership. That's how they do. They kind of corral everybody through the bar to get them ready to go into the show and watch the show. And so I've met people before who it was their first time, they'd never been there before and everything like that. So it's not unusual that I ran into somebody that I didn't know, but so him and me just started talking, right? And so I was like, well, I'm here by myself. You want to come sit at my table? So he comes and sits at the table. We watched the show. It was great, so I'm leaving, and he's like, what are you doing now? And I'm like, well, I'm planning on going to maybe this pool hall, maybe going to go play some pool for a little bit. And so he asks, hey, mind if I join? And so when we were talking before, I found out that he's actually from up north, like he's from Virginia or something like that, and that he's visiting, right? And so, cool, man, that's awesome. Yeah. And I was like, well, do you want me to send you the address? And he goes, no, I don't have a car. Remember, I'm from Virginia. And I'm like, oh yeah, how have you been getting around? And he goes, the scooters. Like the scooters. So for those of you who haven't been to Austin, Austin is saturated with these like metal motorized electric scooters. And so apparently he's been driving those things around, which, I mean, why not? Right? I mean, when in Rome. So, and when in Rome, and Rome being infested with scooters, so that's kind of like, what I'm thinking there. Anyways, so we go to this bar. And it was a bar / pool hall. It's called Warehouse, right? And I know one of the waitresses. She's sort of an acquaintance. And I was telling him about her, that I was like, yeah, I just know her. Let's go sit in her section. We can, pay her. She wasn't there. No big deal. So we're sitting there. We're playing pool. And I asked him where he's from originally. And he said that he's from Hong Kong. And I just so happened, and when I did time in the Navy, I just so happened to have gone to Hong Kong. And I was joking with him, and I said, I'm like, oh yeah, they wouldn't serve me drinks unless I spoke in an Australian accent. And all of a sudden he goes, what do you know about an Australian accent, mate? What do you know? Oh, you want to talk an Australian accent? I know an Australian accent. Now, that's my half-ass Australian accent, but he was actually pretty good in the way he did it, right? So about 10 minutes goes on, and he has only been speaking in an Australian accent, and he doesn't stop for like nothing. So naturally, I kind of take those mannerisms on. I kind of took it on. So now I'm talking in my fake Australian accent, and he is too. So imagine people's surprise, like when they're playing pool next to us and they see, a big white Australian and then a Chinese little Australian, and we're just talking, like we're just shooting shit, we're talking about making like boomerangs out of chopsticks and stuff like that, and so he's still going. And then all of a sudden, like, who shows up but my friend or whatever. And so she comes over, and when she comes over, I'm thinking, okay, he's probably going to drop the act, right? So I see her, and I say hello to her and everything like that, and then he starts talking to her in the Australian accent, and it was pretty crazy, actually. Like it was kind of nuts, because I was like, dude, he's not dropping this for nothing. And then I was like, did I say something to make him like not want to drop this? Like, I'm starting to blame myself for him speaking in an Australian accent. You know what I mean? But he just kept it up, and it's fine. It's whatever. So Amber ends up leaving. Right. And so that was my friend, obviously, but she ends up leaving, and all of a sudden, for some reason, he gets like super like, like, you need to go after her, mate. I was like, no, I'm not going to go after her. What are you talking about? You need to go after her, mate. I'm like, no, I'm not going to go after her. I don't need to go after her. I'm like, dude, she's not mine to mind, and he's like, no, you've got to go, dude. She likes you. I could tell. You got to go. I'm like, no, I really kind of don't, mate. I'm like, please, we got to stop this. I kept telling him, like, we got to stop this. He's like, all right. You can calm down. Yeah. I'm just going to go use the loo, and then I'll be right back. I'm like, do they call it the loo? Anyway, so he goes, and then he comes back, with an address. He's like, man, dude, she said this is where she's going to be. She's going to be right there. So we got to go. And I was like, And he's still in an Australian accent, though. I'm just getting tired of it. I'm like, well, I'm not gonna follow her. She didn't say, I didn't see her or anything. He's like, did she text you? I'm like, no. He's like, she said she's gonna text you. I go, well, she hasn't texted me, so I don't know. I don't know what to do about that, So I'm sitting there just like, okay, well, I don't know. This seems kind of strange. I'm like, I don't know if I want to do that, right? And he's like, no, it'll be fun. Come on, man. I'm telling you, it'll be fun. Well, I went, right? Like, and so we're going, and as we're walking to this bar, as we're driving to this bar, and the whole time I was like, this feels kind of wrong or whatever. And this is kind of like silly. This is kind of weird, right? And so, but we're going, and we pass up this comedy club, and I was like, oh, whoa, I want to go in there. Now, I now know that's the comedy club is the Creek in the Cave is the name of it. And I love that place very, very much. But I now know that that's where it is. So we're walking, and apparently the bar that he wanted us to go to was like around the corner. Well, I'd never been there, and so he was like, so Amber said that she wanted to meet up with us and that she's in this bar. Yeah. That's what she says, mate. So we just got to go in there and just go see her. It'll be great. Okay, all right, this is weird. You know what I mean? And it is weird. And I should have trusted my instincts. I really should have. I should have trusted my instincts and said, no, dude, we're going to stay here. This is weird. You don't follow people to places like that. That's kind of strange. But then again, I was like, where'd he get the address, right? He's not from here. That's my mentality, was he didn't have the address originally. So where did he get it? So part of me was like, well, let's just, let's bird dog it. Let's see where this trail is leading us, right? So, immediately, I noticed there's a lot of attractive women in there in the line to the bar. There's a ton of things like that are just, I'm like, it doesn't look very threatening. It looks very nice. You know what I mean? So I'm like, okay, cool. We're going to go in here and we're going to enjoy this. We're just going to go ahead and enjoy this bar now. Cool. Right. And I'm like, and when I see her, if I see her, I'm going to explain to her everything, and maybe we'll laugh it off, or maybe I'll have to run because I look like a creep. I hope not. Anyways, so we go into this bar, and immediately he dips. Like, he's gone. Like, I'm looking around. All of a sudden, I get like a notification on my phone, and I didn't, so I look on my phone, and it's him. And he goes like, yeah, I'm just looking around. I'm going to see if I could find her. It was a text. I could still hear it in my head as like him being Australian, right? So he goes and tries to find her, right? So he's looking around, trying to find her, whatever. But me, I'm still like, this kind of feels like off. Like everything about everything feels off. And I don't like this feeling, right? And so I'm like, I'm going to leave. This is kind of awkward now. Like, this is weird. And so I'm turning around to leave. And then I notice a lot of guys are dressed as women. You know what I mean? I'm like, I've noticed that a lot of guys are not dressed very well. Excuse me 1 second. Hold on. I'm getting a phone call, but I don't know who it is. But anyways, so I noticed that a lot of guys are dressed like women, right? And that's not a problem, okay? It's only a problem if you don't know that you're going to a gay bar. The dude was gay. I had no idea that he was gay, right? I didn't know that is where he was going to go. I didn't know that that's where he wanted to go. And so I'm sitting there like in shock, because now I figured it out. Amber's not at this bar. Amber most likely did not even give him the address to this bar. He Googled the bar, most likely, and said, hey, can you bring me here? Because there's no scooters for him to go to the bar. The guy used me as a ride to get to the bar. Now I'm putting it all together, right? And so now, just like that one scene in Inception where everybody's like, they know, and everybody's like looking at me, it's almost like I could see all these like gay people like looking at me like, look at this straighty, just this straight guy, just like he's trying to infiltrate our lifestyle. And like that's what I'm thinking. Now I'm crazy, okay? So don't mind me. But that's what I'm thinking, right? So he's like, so I'm looking at everybody. Why did I act kind of gay to get out of here? Why did I do that? Why? I don't know. I don't know. To this day, I'm like, I'm I'm an idiot. I'm so wacky. I don't know why. But here's the thing. This is what makes it funny, right? Is that this girl was trying to pass me to go to the restroom. And I started talking like a gay Australian. She goes, she's like, can I get by, please? Or like something nicer. She was a lot nicer than that. She was like, excuse me. And I was like, oh yeah, don't worry, honey. It's okay. You can go. And I'm like, oh my God. I was like, I've got to get out of here. I've got to get out of here. Right. So I am like trying to book it and like, excuse me, pardon me, you know, like walking past all these people. Oh, excuse me. Oh, I'm so sorry. Pardon me. I'm like, I gotta stop. I gotta stop doing this. This is so fake. This is so weird. I'm like, how did I get here? How did I get to this point? This is so bad. I'm like, I'm such an idiot. I'm such an idiot. So I leave and I take a right and I take another right and there we go. There's the, you know, the creek in the cave. And I walk in there because I'm looking for sanctuary, right? I'm looking for like trying to be, you know, like someplace safe. And I walk in and I'm like, oh my gosh. And I see some people who were actually at the Comedy Mothership who were working there, right? And we have a conversation. I have a conversation with these people and I kind of forgot what it was. But somehow something led to me going like, you know what? I've never done stand-up. I'm going to do stand-up, right? And so I'm still like sweating bullets. I'm freaked out like crazy. And, you know, I'm watching these amateur people do stand up, right? And I'm like, oh man, I can do that, right? So just to give you a little bit of like idea, I've had like quite a bit to drink, obviously, you know, like now by this point. So I'm like, okay, well, all right. You know, like you know, and I'm talking like I got all the drinks at like the gay bar, right? And nobody even bought me a drink. Can you believe that? Oh gosh. Anyways, I'm just kidding. So I'm like here, I'm having like a beer or whatever, and I'm like, okay, I can do this. I think I can do this. So I sign up, right? And I was like the second to last guy, I think. And they were like, this is your first time doing stand up? And I say, yes. And he's like, okay, I'm gonna get you on. And I was sort of persistent. I don't know why. I was sort of persistent. I never did this before, right? So then, you know, like I'm still watching people, and as I'm watching people, it's almost like I'm having like one beer a person, and each person gets about 3 minutes on stage. So actually, like, you know, like I had quite a bit, and so finally, and now here comes Trey, you know, in that nice little, you know, introduction kind of thing. Here's Trey, right? And so I get up there and I make an utter fool of myself. I have no material, and this place has this very nice stuffed bear on the stage, and it's like this nicely done like taxidermied brown bear. And I started like talking to the bear like on the stage. I started like petting the bear on the stage. Oh God! If when I sit there and I think back to it, and I think back to who I am, and like why I am, I just cringe to that entire night for every decision that was made. Anyway, they clicked the light on me, and that was it. And I was like, I have to redeem myself, right? And so I think either later on in the week or later on in the week, I think it was like Thursday, I go back and I'm like, okay, I'm going to behave. And I'm not going to talk to any kind of Chinese people who do Australian accents at all. I am just going to go right to the comedy place, and I'm just going to chill, and I'm going to behave. Nobody even noticed, you know what I mean? It's like, well, that's the thing with entertainers and being an entertainer. Like you think the world, like this is, you know, the world, and this is the universe, right? And that's just me right here. I'm right here. Yeah, hey guys, just keep your eyes on me. Okay? No, nobody gave a shit. Nobody fucking remembered me. And they shouldn't have. You know, and thank God too, by the way. Thank God. Like, cause imagine if people did. They were like, oh my gosh, you came in with that Australian Asian fella, you know, and all of a sudden I'm like, what did we get into? What did we do? Right? But anyways, the way that night ended was I went back to my car and I drove and I crashed into 2 buildings and, you know, killed several people. Just kidding. I don't do that. I slept in my car, didn't drive until the next day. Like, you know, I actually ate and things like that before I went because I'm not going to drive drunk. I'm not going to drive if I've been drinking. And I was good when I went home. So, I might have seemed like I had a lot, but I really didn't have all that much. But anyways, it's even more, I guess, sobering, a little play on words, knowing that I literally drank very little and my inhibition was so awful and weakened to the point of I couldn't make the decision to not do something stupid. And it just goes to show how I just enjoy, having fun. And now I have this terrific story to tell you guys, to bring to you, to sit here and fill up with this nice episode of my own little podcast kind of deal about my little stand-up experiences, But, oh yeah, so anyway, so I tried to redeem myself, and I go back and do stand-up again. This time I have a few more jokes so to give you an idea about what happens when you do stand up, to give you an idea about how that works, is so there's a list, okay? And then now everybody's lining up to get on this list. Okay? There's a ton of people that are lining up. So you have to get everywhere kind of early, right? And so you get there, you put your name on the list, and then you get your 3 minutes, okay? And so I'm usually around 7 or 8. That's like my sweet spot. It's like where I can enjoy people. That's about 24, maybe to 30 minutes. After the thing starts, it'll be my turn. And so it's kind of like a nice little sweet spot to be. It's like right around there. So for me anyway. So you get up there and you're nervous before you get up there, right? And usually me, I'm very, very nervous, right off the bat. I'm very much okay, I'm writing down stuff. This is me writing my jokes. So I'm sitting there, waiting, honing my jokes, thinking, okay, this is how I'm going to do it. Am I going to do this, very punchy, or am I going to try to tell a story this time? And so lately, which, if you've paid attention to anything that I've done, you've seen the jokes that I'm talking about. You've seen what I've been doing. So I would just wait, and I would get nervous and scared right, the second before I get on there. I would get nervous and I would get scared the second before, everything else. So I don't really have stage fright. Like I said, I've been on stages for a long time, but there's a difference, like I said. And the difference is that there are people with me on the stage. That's the difference. There are people with me on the stage doing the things that, that I'm doing. We're all doing it together. We're in it together. If we're in a band, if we suck together. This is not like that. The spotlight is directly on you, and everyone is looking at you. And because it's comics, they're not really, they're there for the same reason that I am. This is like a workshop. This is like practice for them. They're honing things. They're trying it out. They're up there on stage, trying to make it work, make jokes work, things like that. But for me, at this point, I want to make people laugh. And I'm hoping that I'm able to do that. Well, not so much, because, I'm getting comics and they're not being mean. No one has been mean at all in any way. So for a lack of a better way to put it, they're sort of looking at me is he funny? Maybe I should do this, or maybe I should do this with my own joke. And they start thinking about what they're going to do next and things like that. I mean, I do the same thing when I watch them. I think about what I'm going to do next, remember, world, universe, right? So, but a lot of them, they have some nice professional ones there that are guys who seem professional. I don't know if they are. I'm still getting I'm still new to the scene. I'm very, very new. So I've met a lot of people. I've even met some kind of up and coming celebrities, which is kind of cool. But I don't really know anyone just yet. But they have some people who have obviously been doing it for a very long time, and they're very, very, very good. And it gives you a false sense of security, because you think to yourself, okay, I got this. I can be this way. No, man. Nah, it's not. It just doesn't work like that. You can't be as good as they have. They've done the work. They deserve to be there. Right. And to me, I kind of I respect that. So I have a lot of respect for that, and respect for the tenure of people who have been doing it for a very long time, so it's very awesome. So now here I am, right, doing this little podcast thing, this being my very first episode, with me just being completely solo, being interrupted by one phone call, and that's okay, because it's my uncle. It's my uncle. I gotta pick up. I gotta call him anyway. But I think it's time for me to wrap it up, anyways. So, if you've watched the entire time, thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate you sticking with me. And I plan on adding more. I plan on adding more stand up and plan on adding more kind of clips and things like that to my repertoire. And like I said earlier, that I'm adding my brother to, or I'm not adding my brother, but my brother's going to come with me and do this kind of thing as well. He loves stand up, and we're going to do this show, and I'm going to wait till I get him in order for us to do it, because I don't want to spoil anything. But we're going to do this show, and he and I have a great idea for what we're going to do. I think it's going to be hilarious. I think it's going to be awesome. So anyways, so thank you guys so much if you've listened to me rant and rave for the last 30 minutes. This is sort of like my little solo thing that I'm doing, where I just kind of tell you about life, tell you about me, and, maybe give you a little insight to what's going on, I guess, in the stand-up comedy world, in the world of open mics. But if you have any questions, comments, concerns, complaints, please just hit me up and don't be too harsh. Anyways, love you guys very much, and thanks for tuning in.